Right now on the National Weather Desk, snowfalls across the northern plains, but an even bigger storm is on the way, while the East Coast prepares for heavy rain and snow. Smoky skies in Virginia as firefighters work to contain stubborn wildfires.
And I'll never forget the sound of fire burning that close.
What kind of spring will we see? NOAA is out with its new outlook. And do you know what to do to stay safe in a thunderstorm?
The temperatures can be hotter than the surface of the sun.
The danger morel mushroom season poses in California.
Don't eat them. It's really not worth the risk.
And can your dog really go blind during the eclipse? We'll bust some common eclipse myths.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
And a very good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Brian Vandegraff. Well, a fast-moving winter storm is moving across the northern plains and the Great Lakes, this region, this morning. In fact, several inches of snow falling out that way. In Minneapolis, where snow fell all night long, they expect about 2 to 5 inches of snow, which is the first significant snow of the month. So it's been a while. They haven't had a lot of snow out there. Meanwhile, in Milwaukee, they're expecting about 4 to 6 inches of heavy, wet snow from this storm between now and late this afternoon. But this is part of a 1-2 punch. There's the snowfall totals for your Friday, 2 to 5 plus inches of snow. But a second system moving in over the weekend can bring at least a foot of snow across portions of the area before it transitions to rain on Monday. Look at some of those numbers. Minneapolis, 17 inches. Sioux Falls, 17, 12 in Bismarck. A lot of snow there, but it's not confined to the upper Midwest. Let me take you to the Northeast because portions of New England tomorrow have the potential for a foot or more of snow. Look at Bangor, Maine, 14.4. Lake Placid at 13. Troy, about 6.5, 4 in Portland. Even Presque Isle could be almost 2 feet of snow. Meanwhile, the mid-Atlantic, it's just a wet soaking system. The nation's capital could see upwards of 3 inches of rain. Flood watches in place. Could be almost 2.5 inches of rain up through New York City and also along the coastal Carolinas. So a lot of active weather through the upcoming weekend. Well, many areas in the Midwest that are now seeing that snow have already started to see a little bit of spring vegetation. So how will the snow impact the recent budding? Green Bay meteorologist Christian Palacio spoke with an expert to find out.
Since much of February and March had unusually warmer temperatures, by now you may be noticing some buds on trees and shrubs.
Yeah, it's still pretty early, so anything that's coming out now is going to be really hardy and not be too affected by it.
Brian Hans is the owner of Water Farms. He says as long as there isn't flowering, there shouldn't be any problem. As a matter of fact, the snow in the forecast is a good thing.
We're going to be getting some moisture, so we really need it. And let's face it, with the spring we've had, we could slow things down a little bit anyhow.
During this time of year, snow is usually the source of moisture for the vegetation, and there are some plants you can start planting right now.
Perennials you can plant now, you know, some really cool crops like radishes, lettuces, spinach. All the early crops you can certainly plant now. We still have maybe 7 weeks of non-planting of tropical things like tomatoes and cucumbers, etc.
Even though we had warm temperatures for most of March, it's not unusual for colder temperatures still as we move through spring.
More than 100 new fires started burning yesterday across Virginia as gusty winds and low humidity provide fuel to spread those fires. The biggest one burning near Shenandoah National Park, where smoke is clogging the region for miles. In fact, the EPA says that the air quality in that part of Virginia is some of the worst in the nation. Firefighters have been working around the clock to contain the flames. At last check, the fire is about 10% contained, and at least 5 homes have already been destroyed. Jacob Phillips is near Charlottesville with more.
The fire was directly across from the house, and I'll never forget the sound of fire burning that close to my home.
Susan Knipp lives on Taylor's Gap Road and says she spent all day and night Wednesday trying to put out as many flames as she could. She says she's lucky the fire didn't spread to her home.
We were very fortunate. Our house, although it's close to the road, was not impacted, though our mailbox did get singed.
Corey Swift of the Virginia Department of Forestry says the weather had a lot to do with these fires.
Yesterday we saw extreme fire weather conditions, meaning it was really windy. We had very low relative humidity, as low as 20-25%. And when we see conditions like that, that really dries those fuels out. So fires are really easily able to start.
Albemarle County Fire Rescue responded to 19 calls in the county alone.
Most of those were small in nature, but there were 3 that were very significant brush fires. And those fires lasted overnight.
Those were at Blackberry Hill, Taylor's Gap Road, and Piney Mountain. It was determined that the fire at Blackberry Hill was caused by an open-air burning violation.
Crews are still working along with the Department of Forestry to extinguish the Piney Mountain fire and to contain and extinguish the Taylor Gap fire.
There are no reported injuries or deaths from the fires.
Most of the country will continue to see above average temperatures into the spring, and that's according to the outlook released by NOAA's Climate Prediction Center yesterday. But the bigger story may be the lower than average flood risk. Check out this map. The yellow shows where there is a greater than 50% chance of minor flooding this spring. It covers most of the South and the Ohio Valley, where it is expected to be wetter than average, but you'll also notice there is virtually no risk in the western half of the country. That's because of the historically low snowpack. NOAA says that could lead to low flow conditions returning to main stem rivers in the greater Mississippi River Basin. Well, we continue our countdown to the solar eclipse across America, now less than just 2 weeks away. Yeah, it's happening pretty fast. Hundreds of thousands of people are expected to travel to San Antonio, Texas in the days leading up to the big event. And it's Stephanie Esquivel explains local businesses are working hard to make sure they can meet the overwhelming demand.
Owner of Bear Moon Bakery and Cafe in Bernie, Paula Hayward says her team has been working extra to make sure they can supply enough baked goods for all the additional customers they're expecting. Melissa Stapleton, the owner of Texas Gourmet Pantry, says food and drinks are items she's making sure her store will not run out of.
Some of our popular products we're just really trying to make sure we have, especially like snacks, things like that they may want to take and go. We're making sure we have plenty of that.
Not only are local businesses making sure they have enough supplies and inventory for the additional guests the Eclipse is expected to bring, they're also adding fun-themed items to their inventory.
We have t-shirts. They were designed by our oldest son, so we're real proud of that. And it has Bernie on it, and it does have both eclipse dates on there.
Stapleton says those commemorative shirts are flying off the shelves, and she'll have to restock before the Totality event. Keeping up with the theme, Hayward is also offering special treats.
We're doing star-shaped cookies. Yeah, we're going to do some galaxy coffee drinks. And so things like that we're going to be having on our menu for that week.
Businesses in San Antonio are also gearing up for extra foot traffic that wants to enjoy the sights and sounds of the Alamo City. Bakery Lorraine has several locations across the Metroplex. Director of Operations James S. Johnson Jr. says they're not only preparing the Bernie location, but also anticipating extra visitors at all their other locations.
And stay with the National Weather Desk as we count down the days until the April 8th eclipse. We'll have 3 hours of live coverage as we track the eclipse from Texas all the way to Maine. We also have an entire playlist dedicated to the eclipse on our YouTube channel. And coming up a little later on in the show, we are going to debunk some common eclipse myths. Well, cherry blossoms are blooming from coast to coast, and while most people know about the famous trees in Washington, D.C., there is a location on the other side of the country that also draws in crowds to see the blooms. Meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell shows us where they are and how they got there.
We have flocks of people that tend to head toward the University of Washington's campus here in Seattle in the spring season to check out this view. A rundown of how the cherry trees got here. There are about 30 of them in the center of campus. They're known as Yoshino cherry trees. They do tend to hit peak bloom in mid-March to early April. A little bit early this year, we had a milder winter season and it wasn't terribly damp with El Nino, so they showed up a little bit early. They're in peak bloom right now. They were brought to the Seattle area in 1939, originally placed nearby in the Arboretum, but then a big freeway was built, so they had to be moved, and they did just that. Came over to the quad at the UW in 1962. Beautiful shots right now seen on social media, so enjoy. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell.
All right, thanks, Shannon. Coming up next on the National Weather Desk, it's mushroom season in California. We'll talk to an expert about the risk of foraging for your own mushrooms. And spring thunderstorm season, we'll share some tips on how you could be prepared for severe weather.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have a decent looking Friday on tap in the Northeast. We'll have sun to increasing clouds. That's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Temperatures will stay seasonably cool. It's not quite as windy as yesterday. Those clouds are in advance of our next storm system. That's going to bring some snow, mix, and rain to the area. That moves in late Friday night and extending into Saturday morning. It should extend through the entire day on Saturday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Going through your Friday, we start out dry, just some passing clouds, but Friday night we will see a system approach and bring widespread rainfall that could be heavy at times, even some potential for some flooding across the area. But we'll be looking at 1 to 2 inches of rainfall. Temperatures will start to recover a bit. We'll be mild on Friday, highs in the 50s, likely going to see those highs in the 50s as well as we head into Saturday.
Good Friday morning. Meteorologist Michael Arenberg with a look at your Southeast regional forecast for this Friday. Wet weather moving through the southeastern states, Georgia, South Carolina getting hard hit, maybe some strong storms. Rain also moving into central and South Florida during the afternoon evening hours as a big upper level low will be spinning over the southeast, and a surface low will be moving across the northern Gulf. That rain will spread further north overnight. Forecast high temperatures, you can see where it's going to be raining. 50s and 60s for North Georgia, 60s and 70s for just about everywhere else.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, it's mushroom season in California, and one grape grower in Fresno has been chasing people out of her vineyards for weeks as they look to cultivate the mushrooms that grow there. But the fungi, well, the ones they're looking at could pose a real threat to people who eat them. Rich Rodriguez has more.
Morel mushrooms are growing wild in this Fresno County vineyard. You have to look closely to find them sprouting between the weeds. Grower April Barris says some produce stands pay up to $25 a pound for dried morel mushrooms. In the past month, she's called the sheriff's office more than a dozen times to get pickers off her property.
Well, we have people that are coming all hours of the day. They're picking the mushrooms, and we know that they can make people ill.
This is also the time of year when herbicides are sprayed to keep the weeds in check. Barra says people who buy the mushrooms have no idea what they're consuming.
We've done our due diligence to keep them out. Now we're just trying to get people informed. Don't eat them. It's really not worth the risk.
The Poison Control Center advises only to buy morel mushrooms from a reputable store or vendor. Preparation is another thing to consider.
It turns out that unless they're cooked properly, they could lead to injury. They could lead to people getting sick to their stomach, having a lot of dehydration.
These mushrooms with a honeycomb-like appearance have a look-alike called the false morel that also grow wild.
And you can really get confused. I mean, if you look at pictures of these side by side, you can totally see that they're very hard to tell apart. The false morel is always toxic. Always, always, always.
Morel mushrooms spring up until May. That means grower April Barris will be chasing mushroom pickers off her property for another 6 weeks.
When it comes to next month, there are the eclipse, but there's also a myriad of other myths about things happening around that time. And this morning, meteorologist Matt Ritter busts those legends so you can safely enjoy the eclipse.
The first myth: the total solar eclipse produces harmful rays that can cause blindness. Fact: the brilliant corona only emits electromagnetic radiation. There is nothing that can cause blindness. The real danger is looking at the exposed sun without proper protection. That could damage your retinas. Myth: you can safely watch an eclipse through sunglasses. Fact: as we've reported several times, you must have certified eclipse glasses for optimal safety. Sunglasses do not provide adequate protection. Myth: dogs go blind during an eclipse. Fact: on a normal day, your dog doesn't try to look at the sun and damage their eyes, so don't expect them to do it during an eclipse. There's no reason for them to wear eclipse glasses. Myth: there are no total solar eclipses at the North or South Pole. Fact: there is nothing unique about these locations, and solar eclipses happen there just like everywhere else on Earth. Myth: eclipses can harm a pregnant woman's baby. Fact: there is no additional solar radiation during an eclipse that could harm you or a developing fetus. Myth: eclipses will poison food prepared during the event. Fact: again, the solar radiation levels do not change during an eclipse. Any food poisoning would be purely coincidental. For the National Weather Desk, I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter.
All right, when a forecast calls for a 20% chance of rain, do you know what that really means? Well, here's a recent Instagram post from meteorologist Lindsay Storrs to help you better understand the forecast.
You may hear a meteorologist talk about the probability of precipitation, such as a 20% chance of rain or a 60% chance of rain. But do you know what that really means? If you're told that the chance of rain is 20% or less, that means the showers will be isolated. Only a few people in your area will get rain that day. If there's a 20 to 40% chance of rain, that means the showers will be widely scattered. More people will receive rain, but there will still be more people that don't get any rain. 40 to 60% chance means showers will be scattered. You've got about a 50-50 shot of getting rained on that day. Once you get up into the 60 to 80% range, you're talking about numerous showers where the majority of people will see rain at some point. And a precipitation chance of 80% or more means showers will be widespread, and you can pretty much guarantee that most places will see rain.
When you think of rain, and thunderstorms often come to mind as well. So let's go over to some thunderstorm safety with meteorologist Dante Ricky.
Thunderstorms becoming more common here in the spring and summer seasons. Within a thunderstorm cloud, raindrops can collide due to the circulation of air, and as a result of that, that friction can create a negative charge, striking a positive charge on the ground, leading to lightning. Lightning is one of nature's greatest killers, and the temperatures can be hotter than the surface of the sun. The expanding air out of that lightning strike can create a loud crash of thunder, and it only takes less than 5 seconds for that loud crash of thunder to reach 1 mile away. As you get further away, you continue to hear it just in a much more quieter state. Now, when thunder roars, go indoors. Stay out of the swimming pool. Water is a conductor of electricity. Trees do not provide adequate shelter. They can also fall easily during a thunderstorm. Your best bet is to head inside, stay away from windows, which can be blown out by strong winds on the lowest floor of your home, in the middle of that home or building. And if no shelter is available, maybe find your car. Make sure those windows are up and don't touch any metal.
Good information right there. Well, it's a big weekend for motorsports. Meteorologist Brandon Lawson has the weather forecast for all the big races.
NASCAR drivers will take their talent to the Circuit of the Americas this weekend. They head down to COTA, which is in Austin, Texas. Great forecast down in Austin this weekend. It's going to be perfect if you're going to be headed out to the race. Doing some camping on Friday. We're in the 80s, mostly sunny and dry. Saturday, increasing clouds. We're in the 70s. I do think there'll be some more clouds, though, for the Xfinity race and Truck Series race during the afternoon on Saturday. But overall, it's a good forecast. A little cooler with those clouds, again, in the 70s on Saturday. And then Sunday, mostly cloudy. A spotty shower could develop on Sunday afternoon, especially with an area of low pressure developing nearby down in Texas. IndyCar headed to the Thermal Club. It's actually IndyCar's version, basically, of their All-Star race. It's the largest payout for the regular season besides the Indy 500. Notice there's a lot of dust around this track, so it could be a little dusty with a little bit of a breeze. Saturday, we're in the 70s, partly cloudy, Partly cloudy on Sunday as well. We're dry with temperatures in the 60s. A little bit more wind Sunday could stir up some of this dust on the racetrack. So a heads up there if you're headed out to Palm Springs for the Thermal Club IndyCar race. Formula One, they're in Australia. Many of us will be watching this on TV at midnight Eastern time. It will be 11 o'clock in the morning local time there in Australia. Albert Park Circuit has a great forecast and a great lake, by the way. They'll race around the lake. That's the only water you'll see, Albert Park Lake there. Otherwise, it's dry, 60s up to about 70 with mostly sunny skies. I'm meteorologist Brandon Lawson.
Well, maybe boats are more your speed as we go to break and look at what's on display at this weekend's Palm Beach International Boat Show in Florida.
Good Friday morning, everyone. We're going to be dealing with a few rain showers and even some snow showers across the Midwest today. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. Temperature is going to be cool across the upper Midwest with high temperatures only getting into the 20s or 30s, but a lot warmer to the south where we're going to be getting close to 70 in a few locations and warm enough for some rain down to the south. Now, tomorrow, a few showers try sneaking their way in from the west, but most of the Midwest will be dry the majority of the day tomorrow. But look at that snow building in for Sunday to the north.
Good Friday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region. We do have an area of low pressure moving across Arkansas, Louisiana, and that'll generate patches of rain and keep those temperatures very cool, low 60s. 74 New Orleans. Beautiful day from Oklahoma City, Amarillo, Abilene to San Antonio and Austin with a lot of sunshine. We head into your weekend forecast. A little bit more cloud cover out towards El Paso and Amarillo. Will be on the windy side, a little cooler. Otherwise, sunny skies, highs, 60s and 70s.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Friday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, it's the first weekend of spring, and it's going to go according to plan. Pretty much back to normal around here. That'll take us to 47 out of Jackson Hole, 60s up and down the coastline of California, back into the mid-50s in the city by the Sound in Seattle, and 85 out of Phoenix, Arizona. Next weather maker, a big disturbance pushing into the west coast. That will bring rain from Vancouver, BC, all the way to Cape Mendocino as we head into this weekend. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
And if you're looking for some great weather content to check out this weekend, don't forget about our podcast, Off the Radar. Here's a preview of our latest episode. It's all about tornadoes and early warning systems.
Spring is officially here. Flowers are blooming. The days are getting longer and warmer. And with that warm air comes atmospheric instability. Conditions are becoming ripe for nature's most powerful storms to form, tornadoes. Today we are going off the radar and inside the world of modern tornado research and forecasting. We'll talk to a veteran broadcast meteorologist who has tracked countless tornado warnings live on the air. And we'll go inside the National Severe Storms Laboratory, where scientists are pushing the boundaries of tornado research.
So most of my career has revolved around intentionally finding ways to push the limits of observational technology and really advance our science through increasing our capability to observe it.
We'll get exclusive insight into their groundbreaking fieldwork and their ambitious vision for revolutionizing tornado warning systems.
And you can find Off the Radar anywhere you listen to your podcast. We'll be right back. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Monday on the National Weather Desk, we'll look at how the weather plays a role in pothole formation. Interesting stuff. I'm meteorologist Brian Vandegraff. Have a great Friday, a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday.